If billionaires paid the same tax rate as you, governments could raise billions overnight. So why don't they? This question sounds simple, but it's actually one of the biggest debates in the world right now. Some people say billionaires should pay way more tax because they have way more money. Others say raising taxes could actually hurt the economy and slow everything down. And here's the twist. Many billionaires already don't pay as much tax as you think. In this video, we're going to break down how billionaires actually get taxed, why they often pay less than regular people, and the real question, should they pay more or would that backfire? And by the end, you might realize this is not just about rich people. It's about how the entire system is built. Let's start with something shocking. In the US, studies have shown that the richest people sometimes pay a lower tax rate than middle-class workers. Yes, lower. For example, a report by ProPublica found that some billionaires paid less than 5% in taxes over several years. Meanwhile, many regular workers pay 20, 25, even 30% when you include all taxes. That sounds unfair, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Billionaires don't earn money the same way you do. You probably earn money through a salary. You get paid and tax is taken directly from it. Simple. Billionaires, their wealth is mostly in assets like stocks, companies, and real estate. Let's say someone like Elon Musk owns billions in Tesla stock. If the stock price goes up, his net worth goes up, but he hasn't actually earned that money yet. And here's the key rule. You only pay tax when you sell. So if he doesn't sell his shares, he doesn't pay tax on that increase. This is called unrealized gains, and it's completely legal. Now imagine this. Your house price doubles, you don't sell it, and you don't pay tax. Same idea, just on a much bigger scale. But here's where billionaires take it even further. Instead of selling their assets and paying tax, they borrow money. Yes, borrow. Banks are happy to lend them millions, or even billions, because they have valuable assets as collateral. So instead of selling stock and paying tax, they take loans using that stock. And loans are not taxed. Let that sink in. They get cash without triggering taxes. This strategy is often called buy, borrow, die. Buy assets, borrow against them, and then pass them on when they die. And when those assets are passed to their children, in some countries, taxes are reduced or even reset, so a huge amount of wealth can avoid taxation completely. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's clearly unfair, just tax them more, but it's not that simple. Here's the problem. If you increase taxes on billionaires too much, they might just leave. This is in theory, it actually happens. Countries like France tried a wealth tax on the ultra-rich, and many wealthy people moved to other countries with lower taxes. When they leave, governments don't just lose tax money from billionaires. They also lose investments, businesses, and jobs. So instead of gaining money, the country can actually lose money. Another issue is that most billionaire wealth isn't cash sitting in a bank. It's tied up in companies. If you force billionaires to pay huge taxes, they might have to sell parts of their companies. That could drop stock prices, hurt investors, and even affect employees. So now the question becomes tricky. You want fairness, but you don't want to damage the economy. Let's go deeper, because this is where most people get confused. When people say billionaires are not paying taxes, it doesn't mean they pay zero tax all the time. They do pay taxes, but not in the same way as regular people. For example, when billionaires sell shares, they pay capital gains tax. When they receive dividends, they pay tax on that too. When their companies make profits, corporate tax is applied. But here's the difference. Regular people don't have the option to control when they get taxed. Billionaires do. They can choose when to sell assets, when to take profits, and when to delay taxes. That control alone makes a huge difference over time. Think of it like this. Imagine two people playing the same game, but one can pause whenever they want, and the other cannot. Who has the advantage? Obviously, the one with control. And billionaires have that control. Now let's look at both sides of the argument clearly. Why do people say billionaires should pay more tax? First, inequality. Right now, the gap between rich and poor is growing fast. A small group of people owns a huge part of the world's wealth. Some reports say the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 50%. That's massive. And this gap is not just about numbers. It affects real lives. When wealth is concentrated at the top, fewer resources are available for everyone else. It can affect education, healthcare, and opportunities. Second, fairness. A teacher or engineer pays tax on every paycheck. There is no escape, but a billionaire can see their wealth grow by billions and still pay little to no tax unless they sell. That feels unfair to many people. Third, government funding. Governments need money to run. They build roads, schools, hospitals, and provide services. If billionaires paid even a small extra percentage, it could generate billions in revenue. For example, even a 1 or 2% tax on extreme wealth could fund major public programs. That's why many people support higher taxes on the ultra-rich. Now let's flip the argument. Why do some people say billionaires should not pay more tax? First, incentives. Many argue that billionaires create value. They build companies, create jobs, and drive innovation. Think about companies like Amazon, Tesla, and Google. These companies changed how we live. If taxes become too high, some people argue it might reduce the motivation to take risks and build large businesses. Second, capital flight. As we mentioned earlier, rich people can move, not just physically, but financially. Money can be shifted across countries quickly. If one country raises taxes too much, billionaires might move their assets elsewhere. That means the country could lose more than it gains. Third, complexity. Taxing wealth is not as simple as taxing income. How do you value a private company? What if someone's wealth changes daily because of stock prices? It becomes very complicated very quickly. Fourth, double taxation. Some argue billionaires are already taxed at multiple levels. Their companies pay corporate tax, they pay personal tax on dividends and capital gains, so adding more taxes might feel like taxing the same money again. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Some economists suggest a wealth tax. Instead of taxing income, you tax total wealth every year. For example, if someone has $1 billion and the tax is 1%, they pay $10 million every year. It sounds simple, but it's actually very difficult to apply. Let's say a billionaire owns a private company. How do you decide its value every year? What if the market crashes and their wealth drops suddenly? Also, what if they don't have enough cash to pay the tax? Do they have to sell parts of their company every year just to pay taxes? These are real problems that governments struggle with, and that's why many countries have tried wealth taxes and then removed them later. Now here's the part most people miss. The system itself allows this to happen. The tax system was built around income, not wealth. It was designed at a time when most people earned money through jobs, not assets. But today, the richest people earn through assets. So the system hasn't fully caught up with how money is made in the modern world, and billionaires are simply using the system as it exists. They are not breaking the rules. They are playing the game better than anyone else. If you were in their position with access to the same advisors and strategies, you would probably do the same thing. So the real question is not just should billionaires pay more tax. The real question is, should the system change? Because unless the system changes, raising tax rates alone may not solve the problem. Billionaires will continue to find legal ways to reduce their taxes. So what could change? Some ideas include closing loopholes that allow tax avoidance, changing how unrealized gains are treated, setting minimum tax rates for the ultra-rich, improving international cooperation to prevent tax avoidance across countries. But each of these solutions comes with its own challenges. There is no perfect fix. So where does that leave us? Should billionaires pay more tax? There's no simple answer. On one side, higher taxes could reduce inequality, fund public services, and make the system feel fairer. On the other side, too much taxation could push wealth away, reduce investment, and create economic problems. The truth is, this is a balancing act. Too little tax, and inequality keeps growing. Too much tax, and you risk damaging the system that creates wealth in the first place. And finding that balance is extremely difficult. That's why this debate is still ongoing in almost every country in the world. Governments, economists, and citizens are all trying to figure out what the right answer is. And the answer may not be the same for every country. But one thing is clear. This is not just about billionaires. It's about how we design a system that is fair, sustainable, and works for everyone. Because at the end of the day, taxes shape the kind of society we live in. So, what do you think? Should billionaires pay more tax? Leave your answer on comment below.